twin girls born extremely unattractive and abandoned by their parents in front of a mansion, 20 years later. Before we embark on this journey, write down where you're watching from in the comments. Let's go. The Holloway estate stood tall in the cold New York night, its towering windows glowing under the pale moonlight. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of luxury, fresh orchids, expensive cologne, and aged wine. But in one of the grandest rooms of the mansion, a different scent filled the air, the sterile tang of hospital-grade disinfectant mixed with the sweat of childbirth. Lillian Holloway, a woman of striking beauty and unwavering vanity, lay exhausted on silk sheets, her golden curls damp with sweat. Her husband, Patrick Holloway, a tall man with a sculpted jawline and an expression as cold as ice, stood near the bed, arms crossed. His tailored suit was still crisp, as if he had not been touched by the chaos of the night. The doctor wiped his brow and turned to them, cradling two newborn girls in his arms. "Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Holloway. You have twin daughters." But instead of joy, the room was filled with silence. Lillian lifted her head slightly, her heart pounding. Patrick stepped forward, his eyes scanning the babies, his expression twisted into something unreadable. The doctor hesitated before lowering the swaddled infants into Lillian's trembling arms. Lillian pulled back the blankets, eager to see the perfect children she had imagined, miniature versions of herself and Patrick, blessed with striking beauty and sharp features. Instead, her breath caught in her throat. The babies had uneven features, their tiny faces marked with asymmetry. One had a birthmark stretching from her left eye to her cheek. The other had unusually sharp, intense eyes that seemed too large for her small face. Their skin was slightly wrinkled, giving them an odd appearance. Lillian's chest tightened. This couldn't be real. Her daughters were supposed to be perfect, beautiful, the heirs to their fortune. Instead, she turned to Patrick, but his face was already twisted in disgust. "They're hideous." His voice was low but sharp, slicing through the heavy air. Lillian swallowed hard, a wave of nausea rolling over her. The doctor cleared his throat, clearly uncomfortable. "Newborns often change in appearance as they grow. Patrick cut him off with a glare. "Take them away." Lillian's lips trembled. She looked down at the girls in her arms, their tiny fingers curling instinctively, seeking warmth. A deep, unfamiliar emotion stirred within her chest. Fear, confusion, maybe even guilt. But then Patrick's voice came again, colder this time. "If the press finds out about this..." He trailed off, his meaning clear. Lillian turned away, biting down on her lip. She had built her life on perfection. Their wealth, their reputation, their place in the elite world of New York society. It all relied on appearances. She closed her eyes. And when she opened them again, her heart had hardened. "We can't keep them." Her voice was barely above a whisper. The decision was made that night. 2 months later, in the dead of winter, the Holloways prepared for their final act of cruelty. Sleek black car rolled through the empty streets, its headlights slicing through the mist. Inside, Lillian sat stiffly, wrapped in a fur coat, cradling the sleeping infants in her arms. Patrick was behind the wheel, silent, his hands gripping the steering wheel with cold determination. They stopped in front of a towering mansion at the edge of the city. It belonged to Margaret Sinclair, a reclusive woman whose wealth was whispered about in hushed conversations at high society gatherings. Patrick checked his watch. 3:27 a.m. Perfect timing. Lillian took a deep breath and opened the car door. She stepped onto the icy pavement, her heels clicking against the stone. For a brief moment, she hesitated. The girls stirred in their blankets, their tiny breaths visible. In the cold air, a single tear rolled down Lillian's cheek, but she wiped it away. She bent down and placed them gently at the foot of the grand estate. Then, without another glance, she turned and hurried back to the car. Patrick didn't speak as he pressed the gas pedal. The car sped off, disappearing into the night. The babies were left behind, alone in the freezing cold. At sunrise, Margaret Sinclair stood at her grand doorway, sipping her morning tea. The sharp winter air bit at her skin, but something else caught her attention. A faint, muffled sound. A cry. Her heart clenched. Margaret was not a woman easily shaken, but something about the fragile whimpers reached deep into her soul. She stepped forward, her silk robe brushing against the stone steps, and looked down. 2 bundles. Tiny, helpless, abandoned. Her breath hitched. She knelt slowly, peeling back the blankets. 2 pairs of deep, desperate eyes met hers. Margaret's fingers trembled as she touched their tiny faces, feeling their cold skin. Who would do such a thing? Her past flickered before her eyes, a past she had buried long ago. She closed her eyes and exhaled. Then, with a quiet resolve, she scooped the babies into her arms. "Come, little ones," she murmured. "You're safe now." And with that, Margaret Sinclair closed the doors to her mansion, without knowing that she had just opened the door to a future that would shake the world. The Sinclair mansion was nothing like the Holloway estate. Though just as grand, it carried an air of mystery. A place where secrets hid within velvet curtains and chandeliers gleamed with stories untold. For Amelia and Eleanor, it was the only home they would ever know. Margaret Sinclair was a woman of quiet strength. She had no children of her own, nor did she ever seek companionship. The world whispered about her, about the lost love she never spoke of, the wealth she guarded like a fortress. But when she found the twins at her doorstep, something within her, something she had long believed dead, stirred again. She did not ask questions. She did not search for their parents. She simply claimed them as her own. The years passed, and the twins grew under Margaret's watchful eye. But childhood was not kind to them. Amelia, the eldest by mere minutes, was the stronger of the 2. She had sharp, inquisitive eyes, always seeking answers, always challenging the world. Eleanor, on the other hand, was softer. Her voice always a whisper behind Amelia's bolder words, her hands always reaching for her sisters when the world became too cruel. And the world was cruel. The mansion's walls could not keep out. The whispers of the staff, the maids, the gardeners, the butlers, they all spoke in hushed voices when the girls passed by. Poor Miss Sinclair. She deserves real children, not them. They say the rich go mad in loneliness. Perhaps that's why she keeps them. Did you see their faces? The Holloways must have had their reasons. Margaret heard every word, and each time her lips pressed into a thin line. She had no patience for the weak-minded, and she had even less for cruelty. One afternoon, when Amelia was 6 and Eleanor just behind, they played in the rose garden, their small hands carefully plucking petals and collecting them in a tin bucket. The laughter they shared was rare, an oasis in the desert of loneliness. But then the voices came. A group of neighborhood children had wandered near the gates, peering in through the iron bars. "There they are," one boy sneered. "The ugly twins," another girl giggled, pointing. "My mom says they were thrown away like trash." Amelia's grip on the tin bucket tightened. Eleanor shrank behind her. "Go away," Amelia said, her voice steady. One of the boys tossed a small rock, hitting the dirt near Amelia's feet. "Or what? You'll scare us away with your monster faces?" The children laughed, the sound sharp, as broken glass. Eleanor whimpered. But Amelia did not flinch. Instead, she stepped forward, fists clenched. "Come closer and say that." For a moment, the children hesitated, then a new voice cut through the air like thunder. "Get out!" Margaret's figure appeared on the steps, her silhouette framed by the fading sun. Though she did not raise her voice, it carried across the garden, powerful and cold. The children scrambled away, their laughter now nervous, their bravado dissolving under Margaret's stare. She turned to the twins. Amelia stood tall, defiant. Eleanor's face was wet with silent tears. Margaret sighed, stepping forward and kneeling before them. "You must never bow to the words of weak people," she said softly, brushing a strand of hair from Eleanor's face. "They fear what they do not understand." Amelia's little hands were still shaking, though she fought to hide it. "They called us monsters." Margaret cupped Amelia's chin, forcing her to meet her eyes. You are not monsters. You are warriors." Amelia swallowed hard. She didn't feel like a warrior. Margaret took their hands, guiding them back toward the mansion. "Come, I will teach you how to make the world kneel before you." Margaret was not a mother in the traditional sense. She did not cradle them when they cried. She did not sing lullabies, but she armed them with knowledge. The mansion's grand library became their sanctuary. By the time they were 10, they were reading books meant for university students. Business, chemistry, history. Margaret made sure they understood the art of negotiation, the strength in silence, the power of perception. When people see weakness, they exploit it, she told them. You must never let them see anything but strength. Eleanor took to the lessons with quiet fascination, but it was Amelia who devoured them. She was relentless, her mind sharp, her hunger for knowledge insatiable. But no matter how much they learned, the world still saw them as nothing more than two abandoned girls with unfortunate faces. On their 12th birthday, Amelia and Eleanor made a request. "We want to go into the city," Amelia declared. Margaret studied them carefully. "Why?" Eleanor hesitated, but Amelia's chin lifted. "We want to see if the world has changed." Margaret sighed. She knew what they sought. They wanted to test themselves. So, against her better judgment, she took them to a grand shopping district, an elite world where beauty and wealth were worshipped like gods. They walked through the marble-floored boutiques, their expensive but modest dresses setting them apart from the average shoppers. Yet despite the price of their clothing, the stares still came. Women whispered behind gloved hands. Men averted their eyes. Sales clerks hesitated before approaching. At one boutique, a well-dressed woman turned to her companion, not bothering, to lower her voice. They must be adopted. That woman would never have birthed something so unfortunate. Eleanor shrank. Amelia clenched her fists. Margaret simply smiled. "Ladies," she said, turning toward them with a polite but icy expression, "I believe you've mistaken me for someone who values your opinion." The women paled. Margaret turned to Amelia and Eleanor, her gaze unreadable. "Are you satisfied?" Amelia's voice was quiet but sharp. "No." Margaret nodded. "Good." As they walked away, Amelia stole a glance at her reflection in the boutique window. For the first time, she did not look away. She would never be beautiful. That was a fact. But beauty was overrated. Power, however, was undeniable, and she would make the world see her. That night, as the storm raged outside the mansion, the twins sat by the fireplace, their minds still haunted by the day's events. "Hate them," Eleanor whispered, her voice shaking. "Why do they look at us like that?" Amelia stared into the flames. "Because they can." Eleanor turned to her sister. "Then how do we make them stop?" Amelia met Eleanor's eyes. "We make them need us." Eleanor frowned. "How?" Amelia's fingers curled into her palm. "We find something they care about more than beauty, something they can't live without." The fire flickered, casting shadows on the walls. Margaret watched from the doorway, unseen, and for the first time she truly believed the girls would survive this world. No, they would conquer it. The wind howled outside the Sinclair mansion, rattling the grand windows as if demanding to be let in. Inside, Amelia and Eleanor sat across from each other at the long mahogany dining table, their plates untouched. Margaret Sinclair, ever poised, sipped her tea in silence. She had seen the flicker of defiance in Amelia's eyes that day at the boutique. She knew that spark well. It was the same one that once burned inside her. The world had rejected them, and in return, they had begun the slow, simmering process of rejecting the world. The following week, Margaret made an unexpected announcement. "I've enrolled you in school." Eleanor's fork clattered onto her plate. Amelia's lips parted. "Shock. School?" she repeated, as if the word itself was foreign. Margaret met their gazes evenly. "You've spent enough time hidden away in this house. You are brilliant beyond your years. But brilliance locked away is useless. It's time you face the world on your own terms." A heavy silence filled the room. Eleanor, ever cautious, swallowed hard. What if? She hesitated. What if they're cruel? Margaret's expression remained unreadable. Then you will learn just how strong you truly are. Amelia exhaled sharply. Fine. Her hands curled into fists. Let them try. Their first day at Rutherford Academy was exactly what they expected, and worse. The elite private school was filled with the sons and daughters of New York's wealthiest families. Their blonde hair shined under the chandeliers. Their uniforms were pressed and pristine. Their laughter rang through the grand halls like a chorus of exclusivity. And then came Amelia and Eleanor. The moment they walked in, the whispers started. Let them in? Are they related to the Sinclairs? That can't be. Look at them. The eyes burned into them like fire. Some students turned away, pretending not to stare. Others were less subtle, their smirks sharp as blades. Eleanor wanted to shrink. Amelia, however, squared her shoulders and stared right back. At lunch, the twins carried their trays across the cafeteria, scanning the tables. Every glance thrown their way was filled with disdain. Then from across the room, a girl with golden curls smirked. Looks like they let in the charity cases this year. A round of laughter erupted. Amelia didn't even blink. She walked up to the girl's table, placed her tray down, and leaned in slightly. If you're so concerned about charity cases, she said calmly, perhaps you should be looking at your father's stock portfolio instead. I hear it's plummeting. The table fell silent. The girl's face flushed red. What did you just say? Amelia tilted her head, her voice sharp as a dagger. I said, maybe you should focus on saving your family's money instead of opening your mouth about things that don't concern you. The girl shot up from her seat, hands clenched. But before she could speak, another voice broke the tension. That was impressive. A boy, tall with dark hair and an easy smirk, stood nearby, arms crossed. His uniform was slightly rumpled, his tie loosened just enough to show he didn't care much for rules. Who are you? Amelia asked. Oliver Calloway. He grinned. And I think I just found the most interesting people in this school. Oliver was unlike the others. He didn't flinch at their faces. He didn't lower his voice when speaking to them. And most importantly, he didn't pity them. I like power, he admitted one afternoon, leaning against a locker. And you, too, you have it. You just don't know how to use it yet. Amelia narrowed her eyes. And you want to teach us? Oliver chuckled. Not exactly. I want to watch. Eleanor, hesitant but intrigued, glanced at Amelia. Do you trust him? No. Amelia smirked. But that doesn't mean we can't use him. And so an unlikely alliance was formed. With Oliver at their side, Amelia and Eleanor navigated Rutherford's ruthless hierarchy. They learned who to befriend, who to ignore, and, most importantly, who to destroy. By the end of the semester, the whispers changed. They're smarter than anyone here. Did you hear what Amelia did in debate? Club, she humiliated the entire senior team. Eleanor's chemistry project was so advanced the teacher didn't even understand it. They were no longer invisible. But the stares, they never stopped. Because no matter how brilliant, how powerful, how untouchable they became, they would never be beautiful, and the world never let them forget it. One evening as winter crept in, Eleanor sat alone in the library, flipping through an old magazine. A fashion spread showed a model with impossibly flawless skin, her features symmetrical, her smile effortless. Eleanor touched her own face. Then softly she whispered, I wish I were beautiful. A heavy silence filled the room. Amelia, who had just walked in, froze. She hated that wish. She walked over, snatched the magazine, and tossed it aside. Don't say that. Eleanor looked up. Why not? Because it's weak. Amelia's voice was sharp, but her hands trembled. We don't need beauty. We have intelligence. We have power. Eleanor sighed. But would it be so wrong to have both? Amelia clenched her fists. She didn't have an answer. She had spent her whole life convincing herself that beauty was nothing. But deep down, she feared the truth. The world would always favor the beautiful, and no matter how powerful they became, there would always be doors closed to them. That night, Amelia lay awake staring at the ceiling. Margaret's words echoed in her mind. You must never let them see weakness. But was it weakness to want what they had been denied? Slowly, an idea began to take shape. What if they could change the rules? What if beauty wasn't just something you were born with, but something you could create? And in that moment, Amelia Holloway made a decision that would one day change the world. The fire in the Sinclair mansion crackled softly, casting long shadows across the library's towering bookshelves. The scent of aged paper and ink filled the air, mixing with the faint trace of Margaret's evening tea. Amelia sat in her usual chair, a thick business textbook open in front of her. But tonight she wasn't reading. She was planning. Eleanor was across the room, sketching absent-mindedly in her notebook. Every so often she would glance up, studying her sister's face. She had seen that look before, sharp, calculating, restless. "Amelia," she finally said, setting her pencil down. "What's on your mind?" Amelia closed her book with a soft thud. "We've spent our whole lives being judged for how we look." Eleanor's shoulders tensed. She knew where this conversation was going. Amelia leaned forward, her voice low and urgent. "What if we could change it? What if beauty wasn't something you were born with, but something you could control?" Eleanor frowned. "You mean like makeup?" "No." Amelia's eyes gleamed with something far more ambitious. "Makeup is temporary. I mean something real. Something that could change the way people see themselves, change the way they see us." Eleanor hesitated, chewing on her lip. "That sounds impossible." Amelia smirked. "So does surviving in a world that despises us. And yet here we are." Margaret, who had been listening quietly from the doorway, finally spoke. "Ambition is a powerful thing, Amelia," she said, stepping into the room. "But what you're suggesting, it's more than just a dream. It's a war." Amelia met her gaze. "Then teach us how to win." Margaret studied her for a long moment. Then, ever so slightly, she smiled. "Very well." And with those words, the future was set into motion. Margaret didn't waste time. If Amelia and Eleanor were going to build something revolutionary, they needed to understand everything. From chemistry to psychology, from marketing to finance. Books were no longer just books, they were weapons. Margaret brought in private tutors, experts in fields the girls had never even considered. Chemists taught them about molecular structures, the building blocks of skincare. A psychologist explained how human insecurities were the most profitable currency in the world. A former CEO of a cosmetics empire revealed the brutal truth about the beauty industry. People don't buy products, they buy hope. Amelia absorbed every lesson with relentless hunger. Eleanor, though more hesitant, was equally determined. She had always been drawn to the world of science, fascinated by the way formulas could create change. For the first time, she saw a path where their knowledge could mean something more, not just survival, not just revenge power. Their first real test came when Amelia turned 17. "We need a lab," she told Eleanor one evening. Eleanor blinked. "A what?" "A lab. A place to experiment, to create." Eleanor hesitated. "We don't have one." Amelia's lips curled. "Then we'll build one." The Sinclair mansion had countless rooms that had been left untouched for decades. One, in particular, had once been a wine cellar. Cold, dark, and perfect for what they needed. Within weeks, the room was transformed. Shelves lined the walls filled with glass beakers, chemical compounds, and pages of formulas scrawled in Eleanor's delicate handwriting. It was their first empire, small, hidden, but theirs. And then came the first failure. One night, after months of research, Eleanor created a serum, something she believed could improve skin texture permanently. Excited, Amelia insisted on testing it first. The moment the liquid touched her skin, she felt a burning sensation so sharp it stole her breath. Seconds later, red welts began to rise across her cheek. Eleanor gasped, grabbing a damp cloth and pressing it against Amelia's face. I don't understand," she stammered. "The formula was perfect. Amelia clenched her jaw, biting back a hiss of pain. Then make it better. Tears burned at the edges of Eleanor's eyes. I could have hurt you. Amelia took her sister's trembling hands and squeezed them. We're going to fail, Eleanor, but that's how we win. We fail fast. We fail until we don't. The next day, they started again. Months later, the breakthrough finally came. Eleanor, after weeks of adjustments, created a moisturizing serum that didn't just hydrate skin. It restructured it on a cellular level. Amelia was the first to test it. This time there was no burning, no pain, just a slow, cooling sensation, followed by a subtle glow that made her skin feel different. It wasn't drastic, it wasn't perfection, but it was a beginning. Margaret examined Amelia's face under the dim light of the lab. This is it, she murmured. This is where it starts. For the first time in their lives, Amelia and Eleanor had created something the world would want. And that changed everything. Despite their breakthrough, Amelia knew one thing. The world wouldn't just accept their work. They had to force it into their hands. So, she devised a plan. Using Margaret's old business connections, she arranged for a private showcase at an elite industry event, one filled with investors, influencers, and beauty moguls who controlled the market. The problem? They had no company, no reputation, no credibility. To the world, they were still the discarded daughters of the Holloways. Eleanor hesitated. Do you really think they'll listen to us? Amelia's smirk was razor sharp. They don't have to listen, she paused. They just have to see. And with that, they took their first step into war. Because Amelia and Eleanor weren't just building a brand. They were rewriting the rules of beauty itself. The grand ballroom of the Astoria Hotel gleamed. Under the weight of crystal chandeliers, their lights reflecting off the polished marble floors. It was the kind of place where power moved in whispers, where the elite gathered to sip champagne and shape industries. Amelia and Eleanor stood at the entrance, watching as the city's most influential figures floated through the room like royalty. They didn't belong here, not yet, but after tonight, that would change. Margaret's voice echoed in Amelia's mind. People won't give you a seat at the table. You have to take it. And that was exactly what they intended to do. The event was Private Investor Showcase, meant for established beauty brands to present new innovations to a carefully selected audience. Amelia had gotten them in under false pretenses. With Margaret's help, she had forged an invitation under the name Sinclair Laboratories, a company that didn't actually exist. Not yet. Eleanor fidgeted with the small glass vial in her hand, her fingers trembling slightly. It contained their first real product, a serum unlike anything the market had seen. We shouldn't be here, Eleanor whispered. If they find out who we are, Amelia cut her off with a sharp glance. They won't. And even if they do, it won't matter. Eleanor swallowed hard, looking around. The room was filled with giants, CEOs of billion-dollar brands, celebrity beauty moguls, journalists from Vogue and Harper's Bazaar. Among them was a woman Amelia had been waiting to see. She was the Queen of Luxury Cosmetics, owner of Harrington Beauty, a company that dictated beauty standards across America. If she took notice of them, the world would follow. Amelia grabbed Eleanor's arm. There, that's our target. Eleanor's eyes widened. Are you insane? She doesn't even know who we are. She will. And with that, Amelia stepped forward, cutting through the sea of elites like a predator in a field of prey. Celeste Harrington stood near the center of the room, engaged in conversation with two investors. She was impossibly perfect, high cheekbones, piercing blue eyes, and a presence that commanded the space around her. Amelia didn't hesitate. She stepped directly into the conversation, interrupting without apology. Ms. Harrington, I believe we have something you'll want to see. Celeste's brows lifted slightly. Her gaze flicked over Amelia and Eleanor, assessing them in less than a second. You believe, Celeste echoed, her voice smooth as silk, that I want something from you? The men beside her chuckled, amused by the boldness of the two girls who clearly did not belong. Amelia smiled. Not yet, but in about 5 minutes you will. Celeste tilted her head, intrigued. You have my attention. Amelia motioned for Eleanor, who stepped forward with the vial. Her hands were steady now. This, Amelia said, isn't just another serum. It's a shift in the industry, a molecular formula designed to repair skin on a level no product has before, and it works instantly. Celeste took the vial with mild interest, turning it in her hand. And you are? Amelia smiled. Sinclair Laboratories. Celeste arched a brow. Never heard of it. You will. One of the investors scoffed. Every young entrepreneur thinks they've reinvented the wheel. What makes you any different? Amelia met his gaze without blinking. Because in 10 years, you'll be begging to invest in us. A hush fell over the small group. Even Celeste looked slightly amused. Prove it, she said, uncapping the vial. She dipped a single finger into the serum and applied it to the back of her hand. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the change began. The fine lines on her skin vanished. A soft radiance replaced the dullness. The texture of her skin smoothed as if she had just undergone an expensive treatment. Celeste stilled. The investors leaned in, their previous mockery gone. What is this? Celeste murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. Eleanor, for the first time that night, smiled. The future. The moment Celeste nodded approvingly, the shift was instant. People noticed. Within minutes, Amelia and Eleanor were surrounded by curious investors and beauty executives, all eager to hear more. For the first time in their lives, people weren't looking at their faces, they were looking at their work. But just as Amelia was about to close their first business deal, a cold voice sliced through the air. Well, this is unexpected. Every muscle in Amelia's body went rigid. She knew that voice. Slowly, she turned. Standing a few feet away, champagne in hand, was Lillian Holloway, their mother. Lillian looked exactly the same. Time had barely touched her, her blonde waves still. Perfect. Her emerald dress clinging to her figure in a way that made her look like she had stepped out of a magazine cover. For a moment, neither twin moved. Then, Lillian smiled. But it wasn't warm. It wasn't motherly, it was predatory. My, she said, taking a slow sip of her drink. I never imagined I'd see you two here. But then again, I suppose I should have expected it. The room had fallen quiet. People were watching. Eleanor's breath came faster, her hands trembling. Amelia, however, didn't flinch. We're surprised to see you too, Amelia said smoothly. Didn't think this was your scene. After all, we're in a room full. Self-made women. A flicker of irritation crossed Lillian's face. Oh, darling, she sighed, setting down her glass. You're not self-made. You're just playing dress-up in a world you don't belong to. The words shouldn't have hurt, but they did, because no matter how powerful Amelia had become, no matter how much they had built, this woman, this cruel, beautiful woman, was still their mother, and she still saw them as nothing. Celeste Harrington, ever the businesswoman, looked between them, piecing the puzzle together. These are your daughters? She asked, sounding intrigued. Lillian's smile widened. Were Amelia's. Nails dug into her palm. Not anymore. Lillian leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. Let me make this simple, Amelia. Whatever little game you're playing here, it won't last. You think you found a way into this world, but you haven't. You are not one of us. Amelia's heart pounded. For the first time in years, she felt small. But then she looked at Eleanor, who was staring at their mother like she was seeing a ghost. No, she would not let this woman break them. Amelia straightened, her voice cool and sharp. We're not trying to be you, Mother, she said. We're going to be something bigger. Lillian's smile faltered for the briefest second, and in that moment Amelia knew she had won this round. But this wasn't over. Not yet. Because now, Lillian Holloway knew they existed, and that was more dangerous than anything else. The limousine ride back to the Sinclair mansion was silent. The city lights blurred past the tinted windows. a kaleidoscope of neon and shadow. Eleanor sat stiffly, her fingers digging into the fabric of her dress. She hadn't spoken since they left the Astoria hotel. Amelia, on the other hand, stared out the window, jaw tight, lost in the whirlwind of thoughts crashing through her mind. Lillian Holloway had found them, and worse. She had made it clear she wasn't going to ignore them. Margaret, seated across from them, finally broke the silence. "She won't let this go." Amelia turned to her. "I know." Margaret's fingers drummed against her knee. "She spent years pretending you didn't exist, and now, in one night, you forced her to acknowledge you, in front of the most powerful people in the industry." Eleanor inhaled sharply. "She looked at us like we're still nothing." Amelia clenched her fists. "Then we'll make sure she never dares to look at us like that again." Margaret's lips curled into something between amusement and approval. "Then you need to prepare, because I guarantee you Lillian Holloway is already planning your downfall." Lillian Holloway sat in her penthouse suite, swirling the last sip of her champagne in her crystal glass. Across from her, Patrick Holloway sat reading the financial news, utterly unbothered by the events of the evening. "She's dangerous," Lillian said, breaking the silence. Patrick didn't look up. "Who?" "Our daughter." She spat the word like it burned her tongue. Patrick finally lifted his gaze, mildly interested. "Which one?" Lillian's eyes darkened. "Amelia. She's not a child anymore. She's a threat." Patrick smirked, setting down his newspaper. "They're just girls playing at business. Let them tire themselves out." Lillian's fingers tightened around her glass. "No," she said, her voice low. "You don't understand. They're not just trying to build a company. They're trying to rewrite the rules of this industry." Patrick sighed. "So what? We have Harrington Beauty, Blackwell Cosmetics, companies that have been untouchable for decades. No one's going to throw their money at some no-name laboratory." Lillian's grip loosened, her lips curling into a slow, dangerous smile. Then, "Let's make sure of that." Patrick raised an eyebrow. "And how do you propose we do that?" Lillian leaned back, eyes gleaming with something dark. "Simple," she murmured. "We destroy them before they even start." 3 days later, the Sinclair mansion received an unexpected visitor. Amelia sat in the study, reviewing the financial projections for their newly formed company. Eleanor was beside her, deep into research, scribbling formulas in a leather-bound notebook. Then the front doors slammed open. Margaret appeared in the doorway, her usual composure cracked by something close to rage. "Come downstairs." Her voice was ice. "Now." Exchanging a look, Amelia and Eleanor followed her to the foyer. A woman stood there, dressed in an expensive navy blue suit, her posture rigid with authority. Lillian's lawyer. She didn't bother with pleasantries. Instead, she extended a thick envelope. "This is a cease and desist order," she said coolly. "Filed by Mr. and Mrs. Holloway. Effective immediately. You are to stop using the name Sinclair Laboratories in any business dealings." Eleanor's breath hitched. "What?" The lawyer continued, unbothered. "The Holloways have trademarked the name Sinclair under their corporate holdings. Legally, you cannot operate under it." Amelia laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "So, they're trying to erase us again?" she mused. "How predictable." The lawyer's lips pressed into a thin line. "I would advise you to take this seriously, Ms. Sinclair." "It's Holloway," Amelia cut in. "Whether we like it or not," the lawyer cleared her throat. "Then, Ms. Holloway, let me be blunt. If you do not comply, this will go to court. And I assure you, your mother has very expensive lawyers." Margaret, silent until now, finally stepped forward. "Then tell Lillian this. She is underestimating them." The lawyer's expression flickered. Margaret continued, voice cold and precise. "You can take the name, but you cannot take what they've built. And when they rise, because they will, Lillian will regret this move." The woman hesitated for a split second before turning on her heel. "You have 1 week to comply." And then she was gone. The moment the doors shut, Eleanor collapsed into a chair, hands shaking. "They took our name," she whispered. Amelia crossed her arms. "No, they took a word, not our identity." Margaret watched them carefully. This is just the beginning. Lillian won't stop here. I know, Amelia said. And that's good. Margaret raised an eyebrow. Good? A slow, dangerous smirk spread across Amelia's lips. They're paying attention to us. Eleanor looked up, eyes wide. You're happy about this? Yes. Amelia's voice was fierce, unshaken. Because you don't waste your time fighting nobodies. For the first time in their lives, the Holloways weren't ignoring them. They were threatened by them. And that meant they were on the right path. By the end of the week, the cease and desist order forced them to let go of Sinclair Laboratories. But it didn't stop them. Instead, they rebranded. They stripped away the old and rebuilt something stronger. They called it E&S Beauty. And unlike Sinclair Laboratories, this wasn't just a company. This was personal. This was a declaration. Lillian Holloway wanted to erase them. Instead, she had given them purpose. And now, Amelia and Eleanor weren't just trying to build an empire. They were going to burn the old one to the ground. The grand library of the Sinclair mansion was silent, except for the soft scratching of Eleanor's pen against paper. The weight of the cease and desist order still hung in the air, but the fire inside Amelia's chest burned hotter than ever. They had lost the name Sinclair Laboratories, but they had gained something far more powerful: clarity. Lillian Holloway wanted to erase them, so they would make themselves impossible to ignore. Amelia leaned over Eleanor's notebook, scanning the sketches and formulas spread across the table. Their research wasn't just about cosmetics. It was about redefining beauty itself. E&S Beauty, Amelia murmured, rolling the name over her tongue. Eleanor glanced up. You're sure? Yes. Amelia's voice was steady. We built this. Just the two of us. We own it. Our initials, our future. No one can take it from us now. Eleanor exhaled, nodding. Then let's make sure it's worth fighting for. Margaret watched them from the corner of the room, a ghost of a smile on her lips. For the first time in a long time, she saw herself in them. The hunger, the defiance, the refusal to be erased. Maybe, just maybe, these girls would be the ones to shake the world. Rebranding was the easy part. The real challenge? Getting noticed. The beauty industry was vicious. It didn't welcome outsiders. It thrived on exclusivity, on selling impossible ideals wrapped in expensive packaging. And Amelia and Eleanor? They weren't beautiful. They weren't influencers, actresses, or models. They weren't the daughters of industry moguls. They were nobodies, which meant they had nothing to lose, and that made them dangerous. Amelia stood in front of a large whiteboard, marker in hand. Eleanor sat cross-legged on the floor, laptop open, ready to break down the numbers. Margaret, as always, observed quietly. Traditional advertising is too expensive, Eleanor began. We don't have celebrity endorsements, and the big beauty magazines won't even look at us yet. Amelia nodded. Then we find another way in. She grabbed the marker and wrote 2 words in bold: viral marketing. Eleanor frowned. That's risky. Exactly, Amelia said. No one cares about another beauty brand, but controversy, that sells. Margaret arched a brow. And how do you plan to manufacture controversy? Amelia smirked. We don't manufacture it, we become it. The next day, Amelia made a bold decision. She created a video, not a traditional advertisement. No models, no flawless editing. Just her and Eleanor sitting in front of a camera in their dimly lit lab. Amelia spoke first. They told us beauty was something we would never have. Eleanor followed. They told us we would never belong in this industry. A pause. Then Amelia lifted a small glass vial, their signature serum, and held it up to the camera. So we made our own rules. The video was raw, honest, unapologetic. They didn't beg for approval. They didn't try to fit in. They dared people to listen. Within 24 hours, the video had 10,000 views. By the end of the week, 1 million. Comments flooded in. Finally, a beauty brand made by real people. They're not trying to sell a fantasy, they're selling something real. I don't care what this product is. I'm buying it. But not everyone was impressed. Who do they think they are? This is pathetic. Beauty is for the beautiful. No one wants to buy products from ugly women. Amelia expected the backlash. She welcomed it. Because for every cruel comment, there were 10 others from women who saw themselves in them. Women who had never felt seen by the industry. Women who were tired of being told they weren't enough. And that was power. 3 weeks after the launch of ENS Beauty, the industry began to take notice. Not because they were being welcomed in, but because they were disrupting everything. Major beauty brands started speaking out. Articles surfaced, calling them gimmicky, desperate, even unprofessional. Lillian Holloway was quoted in Forbes saying, "The beauty industry is built on prestige and quality. What these girls are doing is reckless. It won't last." But instead of killing their momentum, the criticism only fueled it. Because now, people weren't just buying their products. They were buying into the idea of ENS Beauty, an idea that terrified the industry. One evening, as Amelia and Eleanor worked late in the lab, the mansion's phone rang. Margaret answered, her voice calm as always. But when she hung up, something in her expression had changed. She turned to Amelia and Eleanor, her gaze sharp. That was a warning. Amelia's stomach tightened. From who? Margaret's lips pressed together. From someone who doesn't want you to win. A beat of silence, then the sound of glass shattering. They turned to the window just in time to see a brick crash through the glass, landing inches from Eleanor's feet. A note was tied around it. Amelia picked it up, unrolling the paper with steady hands. One sentence was scrawled across it in red ink. Know your place. Eleanor's breath hitched. Margaret remained stone-faced, though her grip on the chair tightened. Amelia? She smiled, because she knew exactly who had sent it. And if Lillian Holloway thought this would scare them into stopping, she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. The shattered glass lay scattered across the floor, glinting under the dim laboratory lights. Eleanor stared at the brick, her breath shallow, fingers trembling as she clutched the threatening note. Know your place. Amelia took the paper from her sister's hands, reading the words over and over. There was no doubt about it. This was a message from their mother, a warning, a declaration of war. Margaret knelt, picking up a shard of glass between her gloved fingers. She examined it, then slowly lifted her gaze to Amelia. This was a calculated move, she said calmly. She wanted to make you afraid. Eleanor swallowed hard. It worked. Amelia exhaled, forcing her pulse to steady. She couldn't let fear cloud her judgment. She would not give Lillian the satisfaction of thinking she had won. She dropped the note onto the table, smoothing out the creases. Then, with slow precision, she grabbed a red marker and crossed out the words. No, Mother, she whispered. You'll learn our place. Margaret insisted on hiring private security. Lillian isn't just a socialite, she reminded them. She has connections in places you don't want to imagine. You need protection. But Amelia refused. That's exactly what she wants, she argued. She wants us on the defensive. She wants us looking over our shoulders, questioning every move. If we start acting like victims, we become them. Eleanor sighed, rubbing her temples. Amelia, she sent a brick through our window. This isn't just business anymore. It's personal. Amelia leaned forward, eyes burning. It was always personal. Margaret remained silent for a long time before finally speaking. Then you had better make your next move count, Amelia smirked. Oh, don't worry. Twill. 2 days later, the world woke up to an explosive interview. ENS Beauty had secured a feature on one of the most watched business talk shows in New York. It was meant to be a discussion about their meteoric rise in the industry. Instead, Amelia used it as a stage for war. The interviewer leaned forward, eyes gleaming with curiosity. Amelia, Eleanor, you've built an empire from the ground up in record time, but your success has also brought controversy. Some say your brand is nothing but a marketing gimmick, that it's reckless, that it disrupts the true essence of beauty. Amelia smiled. And by some, you mean Lillian Holloway, the audience gasped. Eleanor's fingers tightened around the armrest of her chair. She knew what Amelia was doing, and once she started, there would be no going back. The interviewer hesitated, but before he could recover, Amelia continued. "You're right. Some people in the industry hate us. Not because our products don't work, because they do. Not because we don't belong, because we do." She leaned forward. "They hate us because we expose the lie they built their power on. They hate us because we prove that beauty isn't just something you inherit. It's something you can create." The interviewer cleared his throat. "Are you saying that established brands like Harrington Beauty, Blackwell Cosmetics, the Holloways, are built on deception?" Amelia's lips curled. "I'm saying the industry profits off insecurity, and when insecurity disappears, so does their control." A beat of silence. Then, a firestorm. Within minutes, the clip went. Viral headlines erupted across social media. "The beauty war has begun. ENS Beauty calls out industry titans. Lillian Holloway's daughters are out for blood. Disruptors or delinquents? The ugly truth behind ENS Beauty's rise." The battle lines had been drawn, and now there was no turning back. The attack came faster than expected. Less than a week. After the interview aired, ENS Beauty's suppliers began pulling out. Shipments were delayed. Orders were mysteriously lost. Banks started reassessing their loans. Margaret slammed the phone down in frustration. "They're trying to cut off your lifeline before you get too big to control." Amelia's teeth clenched. "It's Lillian." Margaret nodded. "She's making calls, pulling favors, and trust me, she has more favors to pull than you do." Eleanor sat at the dining table, staring at the numbers on her laptop screen. "If this continues, we won't be able to fulfill our next round of orders." Amelia exhaled sharply, pacing the room. She had expected retaliation, but not this fast. Lillian wasn't playing defense, she was going for the kill. And for the first, Amelia felt the weight of real power. Because despite everything they had built, despite their intelligence and strategy, Lillian still had more money, more influence, more weapons, and she was not afraid to use them. Eleanor looked up, her voice quiet but firm. "We need a partnership." Amelia stilled. "With who?" Eleanor hesitated before saying a name Amelia never expected to hear. Celeste Harrington. Amelia's head snapped toward her. "Are you insane?" Eleanor sat up straighter. "Think about it. Celeste hates Lillian. She always has. Their companies have been competing for years. That doesn't mean she'll help us." Eleanor exhaled. "No. But it means we can offer her something she wants. A chance to take Lillian down." Margaret tapped her fingers against the table. "It's risky. If you go to her, you'll be admitting weakness." Amelia met Eleanor's gaze. She hated the idea of asking for help. But she also knew they were running out of time. Finally, she spoke. "Get me a meeting." Eleanor nodded. "I already did." Amelia's brows lifted. "When?" Eleanor glanced at the clock. "In 2 hours." Amelia blinked. Then she laughed. "You're ruthless," she said. Eleanor smirked. "I learned from the best." 2 hours later, Amelia and Eleanor stepped into Harrington Tower, the headquarters of one of the most powerful beauty empires in the country. Celeste Harrington sat behind a massive glass desk, watching them with cold amusement. "I was wondering when you'd come," she said, swirling the wine in her glass. "I assume you're here because you realize just how small you still are." Amelia took a seat, crossing her legs. "We're not here to beg, Celeste." Celeste chuckled. "A shame. I do enjoy watching young entrepreneurs learn their place." Amelia leaned forward. "We're here to make a deal." Celeste raised a brow. "And why would I help you?" Amelia smiled. "Because if we fall, Lillian wins. And we both know you hate losing to her." Celeste's smirk faded. For a long moment she said nothing. Then slowly she leaned back in her chair. "Interesting," she murmured. Eleanor held her breath. Celeste set down her glass and folded her hands. "I'll help." Amelia's heart pounded. "But," Celeste continued, "everything comes at a price." She smiled, and Amelia knew The war had only just begun. Celeste Harrington's office was a cathedral of power, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Manhattan skyline, sleek black furniture polished to perfection, and a scent of control lingering in the air. Amelia and Eleanor sat across from her, the weight of the moment pressing against their shoulders. Celeste leaned forward, resting her manicured hands on her desk. "Let me make one thing very clear," she said smoothly. "I don't do charity. If I help you, it's because I expect something in return." Amelia smirked. "We wouldn't be here if we weren't willing to pay the price." Celeste tilted her head, eyes gleaming with amusement. "Good. Then let's talk business." Eleanor cleared her throat, carefully choosing her words. "Lillian has been pulling strings to cut off our supply chain. We need new vendors, new distributors, and most importantly, protection." Celeste nodded, and in exchange, Amelia's eyes didn't waver. "You get what you've always wanted." A slow smile curled on Celeste's lips. "And what's that?" Amelia leaned in slightly. Lillian Holloway's downfall. For the first time, Celeste's playful amusement faltered. Her fingers drummed lightly against the desk as she studied them both. Then she exhaled sharply. "You do realize that taking on Lillian isn't just about business? She has influence, more than you can imagine. She knows how to destroy people, and she won't hesitate to do it." Amelia's voice was steady. "We know." Celeste stared at them for a long moment. Then she laughed, low and knowing. "Oh, I like you too," she murmured. She reached for her phone and dialed a number. "Gregory, I need a list of vendors." "No, not the ones we already use, the ones willing to bend the rules." Eleanor blinked. "Bend the rules?" Celeste smirked. "You don't beat Lillian by playing fair, darling." She ended the call and turned back to them. "You'll have new suppliers by tomorrow. I'll also arrange a meeting with an investor, someone who can ensure your funding never runs dry." Amelia tilted her head. "And what do you get in return?" Celeste's smile was razor sharp. "When the time is right, you'll do something for me." Eleanor shifted uncomfortably. "What kind of something?" Celeste shrugged. "I haven't decided yet." Amelia hesitated for only a second before extending her hand. "Deal." Celeste's grip was firm as she shook it. "Then congratulations." "Ladies," she said, "you just declared war." Lillian Holloway was not accustomed to losing. The moment she learned that Celeste Harrington had sided with her daughters, she shattered a crystal wine glass against the wall. Patrick barely lifted, his gaze from his laptop. "Are you going to throw a tantrum every time they outmaneuver you?" Lillian spun toward him, eyes blazing. "They are children, Patrick, and yet, somehow they're managing to make me look like a fool." Patrick sighed. "Maybe it's time to just—" "Don't," Lillian snapped, her voice sharp as glass. "Don't you dare say we should back off." Patrick shrugged. "They have Celeste now, that changes things." Lillian's fingers tightened into fists. "Then we change them back." She strode toward the bar cart, pouring herself another drink, though her hands were shaking. For the first time in 20 years, Lillian felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Fear. Because she had spent 2 decades pretending Amelia and Eleanor didn't exist. And now, they were becoming more powerful than she had ever imagined. She took a slow sip of wine, forcing herself to calm down. Fine. If they wanted to fight dirty, she would show them what real destruction looked like. 3 weeks passed, and E&S Beauty thrived. With Celeste's backing, their suppliers returned. Orders skyrocketed. Investors began circling, eager to buy into the growing brand. For the first time, Amelia and Eleanor felt unstoppable, and that's when the scandal broke. E&S Beauty exposed. Dangerous ingredients found in skincare line. Are Amelia and Eleanor Holloway scamming customers? Fraud? Customers report rashes, skin reactions from E&S Beauty products. Within hours, social media was on fire. I knew this was too good to be true. They aren't even trained chemists. What did you expect? This is what happens when ugly people try to sell beauty. Amelia and Eleanor stared at the news reports in horrified silence. Eleanor's voice trembled. This isn't real. Our formulas are flawless. Margaret's expression was unreadable. It doesn't matter if it's real. It only matters that people believe it. Amelia's mind raced. This is Lillian, Margaret nodded. Of course it is. Eleanor covered her face with her hands. How do we fight this? Amelia exhaled slowly. She had been waiting for this moment. Because this was Lillian's mistake. She had assumed that throwing dirt at them would be enough, that they would crumble under the weight of public scrutiny. But what Lillian didn't understand? Scars only made them stronger. Amelia straightened, her eyes dark with determination. We don't fight it, Eleanor frowned. What? We use it. Margaret raised a brow. Explain. Amelia grabbed her phone. If they want a scandal, she murmured. We'll give them one. Eleanor's stomach twisted. Amelia, what are you doing? Her sister's fingers flew across the screen. Then, a moment later, she hit post Amelia's. Tweet went viral within minutes. Amelia Holloway. They tried to ruin us, they failed. Ian's beauty. Truth will out. Then, a video. Amelia and Eleanor stood in their lab. No script, no editing, just raw honesty. They told you we were frauds, that our products were dangerous. Here's the truth. Lillian Holloway will do anything to destroy. Even fabricate a scandal. So here's our challenge. Test the products yourself, tell us the truth. Because we already know what you'll find. The internet exploded. Customers posted reviews, proving the allegations were lies. Industry insiders began whispering. Had Lillian Holloway gone too far? Ian's beauty didn't just survive the scandal. It became stronger because of it. And somewhere in her penthouse, Lillian Holloway stared at the headlines, fingers digging into the arms of her chair. For the first time, she realized something terrifying. She was losing control. The world had expected Ian's beauty to collapse. Instead, it thrived. The scandal meant to destroy them had backfired spectacularly. Customers rallied behind them. Social media turned against Lillian Holloway. And just like that, the tides shifted. But Amelia knew better than to celebrate. Lillian was wounded, but she wasn't defeated. And a wounded animal was always the most dangerous. Across town, in her lavish penthouse, Lillian Holloway read through the headlines with quiet fury. The Holloway dynasty in trouble? Did Lillian Holloway go too far? Ian's beauty turned scandal into triumph. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. Patrick entered the room, holding a drink. You've lost. Lillian snapped her gaze toward him. Not yet, Patrick chuckled, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. The industry is turning on you. Investors are pulling back. Celeste Harrington is gloating. Lillian's fingers clenched into fists. She had underestimated them. She thought she could break them like she had done to so many others. But Amelia and Eleanor, they weren't like the others. Patrick sighed. You need to let this go. They've already won. Lillian's jaw tightened. No, she murmured. Not yet. Because if she couldn't destroy them, she knew who could. Amelia and Eleanor were in the lab when the call came. Margaret answered, her sharp gaze flickering with something unreadable. She lowered the phone and turned to them. Your father wants to meet. Silence. The words hit harder than expected. Amelia's lips curled in disgust. Patrick Holloway is not our father. Eleanor swallowed hard. What does he want? Margaret studied them carefully. He says he has an offer. Amelia's pulse quickened. A deal? Yes, Margaret said. And he wants to discuss in person. Eleanor shifted uncomfortably. This could be a trap, Amelia smirked. Good. Eleanor frowned. Good? Amelia's eyes darkened. Because that means he's desperate. The Holloway estate was exactly as they remembered it. Cold, impersonal, dripping with wealth but empty of warmth. Patrick waited for them in his study, seated behind a massive oak desk. He barely looked up when they entered. Sit, he said. Neither of them moved. Patrick sighed, setting down his whiskey glass. You've made quite a mess, girls. Amelia's voice was sharp. And you've made quite a mistake. Patrick smirked. Have I? He gestured to the leather chairs across from him. Sit down, Amelia. let's talk business." Amelia hesitated for only a moment before taking a seat. Eleanor followed, tense but composed. Patrick leaned back. "I'll keep this simple. You sell ENS Beauty to me. Walk away with $100 million. Eleanor gasped. Amelia didn't blink. Patrick studied them. "That's more money than you'll ever make on your own. You take the deal, and you'll never have to fight again. You'll be set for life." Silence. Then Amelia laughed, a sharp, cold sound. "That's cute," she said, leaning forward. "But let me tell you what's actually going to happen." Patrick raised an eyebrow. Amelia smiled, a slow, dangerous smile. "You're going to watch as we take everything. You're going to watch as your empire crumbles beneath you. And when you finally realize you've lost," she tilted her head, "you'll be the one begging us for a deal." Patrick's smirk vanished, his fingers curled into fists. "You think you're untouchable?" Amelia's voice was ice. "I know we are." She stood. Eleanor followed, her hands shaking but her expression set. Patrick's voice followed them as they walked toward the door. "You have no idea what you've just done." Amelia paused, glancing back. "Neither do you," and then they left. But Amelia knew this war was far from over. The moment Amelia and Eleanor left the Holloway estate, they knew. They had just made a very dangerous enemy. Patrick Holloway wasn't like Lillian. He didn't act out of emotion. He didn't throw bricks through windows or make public scenes. He destroyed people quietly. And now, they were his next target. 2 days later, the first sign of trouble arrived. Eleanor sat at the long dining table, her laptop open, scrolling through ENS Beauty's latest sales reports. Orders were steady, revenue was climbing, and investor interest had never been stronger. And then, everything stopped. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard as a single notification popped up. "Bank account frozen. Pending fraud investigation." Her stomach dropped. Amelia walked in, setting down a cup of coffee. "You look like you just saw a ghost." Eleanor turned the laptop toward her. Amelia's face hardened. "What the hell?" Margaret entered the room just in time to hear the words. "What's wrong?" Amelia pushed the laptop toward her. Margaret scanned the screen. When she looked up, her expression was grim. "This isn't a mistake," she said quietly. "This is Patrick." Within 24 hours, everything began to crumble. ENS Beauty's main distributor suddenly cut ties without warning. Investors backed out, claiming unforeseen risks. Their ad campaigns were pulled from major platforms. It was systematic, ruthless, precise, and Amelia knew exactly what it meant. Patrick wasn't just hurting them, he was erasing them. Eleanor's hands shook as she closed her laptop. "If we can't unfreeze the account, we can't pay suppliers. If we can't pay suppliers, we can't fulfill orders. And if we can't fulfill orders, we're dead," Amelia finished, jaw clenched. Margaret exhaled. "Patrick has connections in every major financial institution. He knows how to pull strings without leaving a trace." Eleanor's voice cracked. "We could lose everything." A heavy silence filled the room. Then Amelia stood. "No," she said firmly. "Not like this." She turned to Margaret. "There's always a way around power, always a weakness." Margaret studied her for a long moment. Then a slow smirk tugged at the corner of her lips. "As a matter of fact," she murmured, "there is." Margaret led them to her private study, where she pulled out a single black folder. She placed it on the desk. "Inside this folder," she said, "is something I've kept for 20 years. Something even Patrick Holloway doesn't want the world to see." Amelia's eyes narrowed. "What is it?" Margaret tapped the folder. "His greatest secret." Eleanor's breath hitched. Amelia reached for the folder, flipping it open. Her eyes widened, because on the very first page was proof that Patrick Holloway had built his fortune on a foundation of lies. 2 nights later, Amelia and Eleanor stood in Patrick Holloway's private club. The air was thick with cigar smoke. Men in expensive suits lounged in dark leather chairs, whispering about stock markets and offshore accounts. Patrick sat in the center, looking unbothered, until he saw them. His smirk returned. Back so soon? Amelia slid the black folder across the table. Read it. Patrick raised an eyebrow. Then, with mild curiosity, he flipped it open. And as his eyes scanned the pages, his expression changed. The amusement vanished. His jaw tightened. Eleanor swallowed. She had never seen Patrick Holloway show fear, but right now, he was terrified. Finally, he closed the folder, setting it down with measured care. Then he looked at them. "What do you want?" Amelia smiled. "Checkmate." Patrick Holloway had built an empire on control. He never lost. He never bent. And yet, as he sat in his exclusive private club staring at the blackmail file Amelia had just handed him, something in his carefully constructed world fractured. For the first time in his life, someone had backed him into a corner, and it was his own daughter. Patrick's grip tightened around the folder. His knuckles whitened as he flipped through the damning contents. Eleanor watched him carefully, her pulse hammering. She didn't know what was in those pages. Margaret hadn't told them. But whatever it was, it had shaken him. Finally, Patrick exhaled sharply. His voice was controlled, but his eyes were sharp as knives. "What do you want?" Amelia crossed her arms. "Unfreeze our bank accounts. Restore our business partnerships and call off whatever quiet war you've been waging against us." Patrick leaned back in his chair, swirling the whiskey in his glass. "You think you can blackmail me into submission?" Amelia smiled, slow and dangerous. "I think you have more to lose than we do." For a long moment, Patrick said nothing. Then finally he closed the folder and slid it back across the table. His smirk returned, but this time it didn't reach his eyes. "You're smart," he admitted. "But smart doesn't make you untouchable." Amelia tilted her head. "Neither does being rich." Patrick exhaled through his nose. Then he grabbed his phone, tapped a single message, and set it down. "There," he said. "Your accounts will be unfrozen by morning. Your business will be left alone." Eleanor let out a breath she didn't realize she had been holding. But Amelia didn't move. She studied Patrick carefully. "Just like that?" Patrick smiled. "No." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Now I owe you nothing. And that means when I come for you next time," his smirk widened, "I won't hold back." The moment they stepped out of the club, Eleanor finally let out a shaky breath. "That was the most terrifying thing I've ever done." Amelia, however, was silent. Margaret's words echoed in her mind. Power isn't just about winning battles. It's about knowing which wars are worth fighting. Eleanor touched her arm gently. "Did we win?" Amelia hesitated. Then she sighed. "We survived. And somehow that didn't feel like enough. Because Patrick Holloway wasn't done. And next time, he wouldn't just be playing defense, he'd be coming to destroy them." The next morning, E&S Beauty's bank accounts were fully restored. The distributors returned. The investors apologized. The chaos Patrick Holloway had unleashed on their business was erased overnight, as if it had never happened. But Amelia knew the truth. This wasn't a victory. It was a warning. Patrick had agreed to back off. For now. But when he came back, he would make sure they didn't walk away a second time. For the first time in months, the Sinclair mansion was quiet. No attacks, no scandals, no sabotage, and that's what scared Eleanor the most. She sat at the kitchen table, absent-mindedly stirring her tea. Across from her, Amelia scrolled through reports on her phone, her expression unreadable. Finally, Eleanor broke the silence. "Why do I feel like we should be celebrating, but we're not?" Amelia didn't look up. "Because we're not stupid." Eleanor set her cup down. "So what do we do now?" Amelia exhaled, leaning back in her chair. "We expand. We don't just survive. We grow. We make it impossible for him to take us down." Eleanor frowned. "And what if he comes after us again?" Amelia's grip tightened on her phone. "The next time, we don't just fight back." She looked up, eyes burning. "We make sure he doesn't get back up." 3 days later, Amelia and Eleanor sat across from Celeste Harrington in her lavish penthouse. The older woman sipped her espresso, her icy blue eyes calculating. "So," Celeste said, setting her cup down, "you survived your father's little game." Amelia smirked. "Did you bet against us?" Celeste chuckled. "Oh, I never bet against people who have nothing to lose." Eleanor cleared her throat. "We need to talk expansion." Celeste raised a brow. "Ambitious, aren't we?" Amelia folded her arms. "We need stronger distribution, bigger markets. We're good, but we're not untouchable yet." Celeste studied them for a long moment, then she leaned forward. "Fine," she said. "But I have one condition." Amelia lifted her chin. "Name it." Celeste smiled, sharp and knowing. "I want 20% of E&S Beauty." Eleanor's breath caught. "That's a lot." Amelia's jaw tensed. "Too much," Celeste shrugged. "You need power, I have it. If I'm putting my reputation on the line to grow your empire, I want my share." Silence. Eleanor nudged Amelia gently. "It's risky, but—" She hesitated. "It might be what we need." Amelia clenched her fists. She hated giving up control. But she also knew Celeste's influence could take them to a level even Patrick Holloway couldn't touch. Finally, she exhaled. 10%, she countered. Celeste smirked. 15%, Amelia's lips pressed together. 12%, final offer. Celeste studied her, then nodded slowly. Deal. And just like that, E&S Beauty became unstoppable. But as Amelia shook Celeste's hand, she couldn't shake one thought. They had just made another deal with the devil, and this time, she wasn't sure who would win. Power came at a price, and Amelia knew. They had just paid it. Celeste Harrington was now part owner of E&S Beauty. It was a calculated move, a necessary alliance. But as Amelia sat in the back of the limousine with Eleanor, heading home from Celeste's penthouse, she couldn't shake the feeling that they had just invited another enemy into their house. Because Celeste wasn't just an investor, she was a predator, and predators never made deals without an ulterior motive. The moment they stepped into the Sinclair mansion, Margaret was waiting, arms crossed, expression unreadable. "You made a deal," she said. It wasn't a question. Amelia set down her bag. "We had to." Margaret tilted her head. "Did you?" Eleanor exhaled. "Celeste can take us to the next level. She has influence, connections. She also has power over you now," Margaret cut in. "And power isn't something Celeste Harrington shares. It's something she owns." Amelia sighed. "We know what we're doing." Margaret studied her carefully. "I hope you do," she murmured, "because if you don't, Celeste will eat you alive." For the next month, E&S Beauty exploded. With Celeste's backing, their products hit luxury stores across the country. Sales tripled. Their name became synonymous with disrupting the beauty industry. They were no longer outsiders. They were a force. But then, things started shifting. Small things at first. A press release went out under their name, one they hadn't approved. New strategic hires were made by Celeste without consulting them. A product launch was moved up, despite Eleanor's protests that the formula wasn't ready. Amelia's jaw tightened. Celeste wasn't just helping them grow, she was taking control. The confrontation was inevitable. 2 weeks later, Amelia stormed into Harrington Tower, Eleanor trailing behind her. Celeste sat in her office, effortlessly poised. She barely looked up as they entered. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" she mused. Amelia tossed a file onto her desk. "You're making decisions without us." Celeste raised an eyebrow. "I'm making decisions for you. That's what partners do." Eleanor crossed her arms. "No, that's what owners do." Celeste smiled, sharp and slow. "And what exactly did you think I was when you gave me 12%? Silence. Amelia's fingers curled into fists. "We didn't sign over our company," she said. Celeste leaned back, eyes gleaming. "No, but you signed over influence. And influence, darling, is far more powerful than ownership." Amelia's breath came slow and controlled. Celeste had played them. And the worst part, they had let her. Celeste tapped her nails against the desk. "Tell me, Amelia, what is it you're so afraid of?" Amelia's voice was ice. Losing control. Celeste chuckled. Control is an illusion. You don't control power. You wield it. She leaned forward. And if you're smart, you'll stop fighting me and start learning from me. Eleanor frowned. What does that mean? Celeste's smile deepened. I have a proposal. One that will make you more powerful than you ever imagined. Amelia narrowed her eyes. And what's the price? Celeste's gaze darkened. Lillian Holloway. Silence. Eleanor stiffened. What? Celeste folded her hands. You want to take her down? Then you need to do more than just survive her attacks. You need to destroy her. Amelia's pulse pounded. And you can help us do that? Celeste smirked. Darling, I can help you end her. Amelia's heart hammered. She had dreamed of this moment for years. But as Celeste's words settled in, she realized something. If they said yes, they wouldn't just be playing the game anymore. They would be rewriting the rules. Celeste Harrington had built her empire on ruthlessness. She didn't believe in fairness. She didn't believe in mercy. She believed in power. And now, as she leaned back in her leather chair, watching Amelia and Eleanor with a slow, knowing smile, she was offering them the one thing they had spent their entire lives chasing. A chance. To destroy Lillian Holloway. The room felt too quiet. Eleanor's pulse pounded in her ears. What exactly are you suggesting? Celeste's lips curled. I have information. Information that could not only ruin Lillian Holloway but bury her for good. Amelia's jaw tightened. And you expect us to believe you're just offering this out of the kindness of your heart? Celeste chuckled. Darling, kindness has nothing to do with it. She leaned forward, fingers steepled. I want Lillian gone just as much as you do. But unlike you, I don't let emotion dictate my actions. Eleanor frowned. Then why do you care? Celeste's smirk didn't waver. Because when Lillian falls, there will be a power vacuum. She tilted her head. And I intend to be the one who fills it. Silence. The weight of her words settled like a storm. She wasn't offering them revenge. She was offering them war. Amelia exhaled slowly, meeting Eleanor's gaze. They had spent their entire lives being erased. They had clawed their way out of nothing, and now they had the chance to take everything from the woman who had tried to destroy them. It was tempting, too tempting. Amelia turned back to Celeste. What's your price? Celeste's smirk widened. I want ENS beauty. Eleanor's stomach dropped. No. Amelia's fingers dug into her palm. Define want. Celeste's voice was smooth as silk. 51%. Eleanor inhaled sharply. That's control. Celeste tilted her head. Call it an insurance policy. I help you take down Lillian, and in return I take ENS beauty to a level you can't even imagine. Her blue eyes gleamed. You'll still have power, you'll still have money, you'll still have your name. She smiled. But I will own you. Eleanor stood abruptly. We're done here. Amelia didn't move. Eleanor turned to her, voice urgent. Amelia, we can't. Celeste lifted a brow. Can't or won't? Eleanor's chest tightened. We built this company from nothing. We bled for it, and you want to just hand it over. Amelia didn't answer, because the truth was, she didn't know. She had spent her entire life fighting to prove she wasn't weak, and now Celeste was offering her power beyond her wildest dreams. But at what cost? Was Lillian's destruction worth losing herself? Amelia's throat felt tight. She stood slowly. We'll think about it. Celeste smiled. Do that. And as Amelia and Eleanor walked out of Harrington Tower, the weight of their next move pressed down on them like a noose. Because if they said yes, there would be no going back. The limousine ride back to the Sinclair mansion was silent. Eleanor sat stiffly, arms crossed, staring out the window. Her jaw was tight, her breath unsteady. Amelia, on the other hand, hadn't stopped thinking. Celeste Harrington had just handed them a loaded gun, a way to end Lillian Holloway. But the price? Control of ENS beauty. And for the first time, Amelia wasn't sure which was more important, revenge or power. The moment they stepped into the mansion, Eleanor spun on Amelia. You're actually considering it. It wasn't a question. Amelia exhaled, shrugging off her coat. We need to think about our next move carefully. Eleanor's voice rose. Our next move? Amelia, she wants to own us. Amelia rubbed her temples. And what if this is the only way? Eleanor's chest tightened. You can't seriously believe that. Amelia met her gaze, eyes cold. I believe Lillian won't stop until we're nothing. And if Celeste has the weapon to take her down, then maybe… No. Eleanor's voice shook, but her hands were steady. We didn't claw our way up just to hand over everything we built. Amelia swallowed hard. Then what do you suggest? Eleanor's breath was uneven. She didn't have an answer, and Amelia knew it. Margaret had been listening from the corner of the room, arms folded. She finally spoke. You're at a crossroads. Amelia turned to her. What would you do? Margaret's lips curled. Celeste is dangerous, but so is Lillian. The question is, who do you fear more? Eleanor shook her head. That's not the question. She looked at Amelia. The real question is, who do you want to become? Amelia's stomach twisted, because for the first time she wasn't sure. That night, Amelia lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Celeste had offered them power. Lillian had taken everything from them, and yet no matter how much Amelia wanted revenge, something felt wrong. She couldn't let Celeste win, but she couldn't let Lillian win either. There had to be another way. And then, it hit her. She sat up abruptly. Her pulse pounded as the plan formed in her mind. She grabbed her phone, waking Eleanor with a sharp whisper. I know what we have to do. Eleanor blinked, groggy. What? Amelia's voice was deadly calm. We're not going to take Lillian down. Eleanor frowned. Then what? Amelia's lips curled. We're going to make her destroy herself. And with that, the final game began. The plan was simple. Lillian Holloway couldn't be destroyed. Not directly. She had too much influence, too many connections. But she could be trapped. She could be made to turn against herself. And once the world saw her for what she really was, she would fall. Amelia sat at the head of the dining table, a notebook open in front of her. Eleanor watched her carefully. So, Eleanor said, voice cautious, how do we make her destroy herself? Amelia's fingers tapped the table. By giving her exactly what she wants. Eleanor frowned. Which is? Amelia's lips curled. Us. For years, Lillian had done everything in her power to erase them. But now they had power, influence. A company that was threatening to dismantle the industry Lillian had spent her life controlling, which meant that deep down, Lillian wanted them back, not as daughters, as assets. She doesn't just want to destroy us, Amelia explained. She wants to own us, just like she owns everything else in her life. Eleanor's breath hitched. So we make her think she's won? Amelia nodded. We let her think we're breaking, that we're ready to make a deal. Margaret, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. And what happens when she takes the bait? Amelia smiled. We make sure the whole world is watching. The first move was subtle. A rumor was planted. A whisper in the right circles, just loud enough to reach Lillian's ears. ENS Beauty. Struggling behind the scenes? Investors uncertain about Holloway sisters' leadership. Could a partnership with the Holloways be in the works? Amelia and Eleanor waited, and it didn't take long, because 2 days later, Lillian Holloway made her move. A formal invitation, a dinner, private, exclusive, just the three of them. Amelia smirked. She thinks she's already won. Eleanor's throat was tight. And what if we're wrong? Amelia exhaled. We're not, because Lillian Holloway's greatest weakness had always been the same. She believed she was untouchable, and that was going to be her undoing. The Holloway estate was just as they remembered it. Grand, perfect, cold. The dining room was set for 3. Candles flickered against the polished mahogany table. Crystal glasses shimmered under the chandelier, and at the head of the table, Lillian. She smiled as they entered, but her eyes were calculating. My daughters, she murmured, standing. You have no idea how long I've waited for this moment. Amelia and Eleanor sat. The air was thick with unspoken history. Lillian lifted her wine glass. "Shall we toast?" Amelia forced a smile. "To what?" Lillian's voice was smooth as silk. "To family." Eleanor's fingers curled into fists. "But Amelia?" She simply smiled. Because this time, Lillian Holloway had no idea what was coming. The scent of aged wine lingered in the air. Lillian Holloway sat at the head of the grand dining table, her emerald dress flawless, her smile calculated. She had played this game before, she had won before, and tonight, she thought she would win again. She lifted her glass, swirling the red liquid slowly. "To family," she repeated. Amelia met her gaze, lifting her own glass. "To new beginnings." Eleanor hesitated, but Amelia nudged her foot under the table. She forced a smile and followed. 3 glasses clinked. The first piece of the trap was in place. The bait Lillian leaned back, studying them both. "I must say I wasn't expecting this." Amelia arched a brow. "Expecting what?" Lillian smirked. "For you to finally realize that the two of you alone can't win." Eleanor stiffened, but Amelia remained calm. "You're right," Amelia said smoothly. Eleanor's head snapped toward her. Lillian's lips curled. "Oh?" Amelia sighed as if in defeat. "We've done well, but we've made enemies. The industry isn't built for people like us. We've been fighting for so long, but maybe—" She exhaled, fingers tapping against her wine glass. "Maybe we need to reconsider our approach." Lillian's eyes gleamed. She thought she was winning, exactly as planned. "I knew you were intelligent," Lillian murmured. "You just needed time to see the truth." Amelia tilted her head. "And what truth is that?" Lillian smiled. "That you can have everything you want. Power, influence, security." She leaned forward. "All you have to do is step into the right family." Eleanor's breath hitched. "What does that mean?" Lillian's voice was soft, almost maternal. "Come back to the Holloway name." Silence. Amelia's pulse remained steady. "And what does that look like?" Lillian's smile widened. "Simple. We merge ENS Beauty with Holloway Enterprises. You become part of the legacy I built." Her nails tapped against her glass. "You get the empire you've always wanted, and I get my daughters back." Amelia's stomach twisted because they both knew the truth. Lillian didn't want daughters. She wanted assets. She wanted control. And that was never going to happen. Amelia exhaled, shaking her head slightly. "I don't know, Mother." Lillian lifted a brow. "You're hesitating?" Amelia sighed. "It's just the people we work with, our investors, our partners." She glanced around, lowering her voice. "If they knew we were even considering this, the backlash could be huge." Lillian leaned in. "Then they can't know." Amelia's lips curled. "Right, so it should be." Off the record, Lillian nodded approvingly. "Exactly." Eleanor glanced at Amelia. "Now?" Amelia gave the tiniest nod, and then Eleanor pressed the button on her bracelet. A live recording feed was activated. Across the city, an anonymous link was quietly shared with every major news outlet. And just like that, the world was watching. Lillian kept talking. She boasted about how she had orchestrated the attacks on ENS Beauty. She admitted to paying off suppliers to cut them off. She laughed about how easy it was to manipulate investors. And when she finally leaned back, satisfied, she smiled. "See, my darlings?" she murmured. "The industry doesn't belong to the best." She lifted her glass. "It belongs to the most ruthless." And the world heard every word. The fallout was immediate. Breaking news. Leaked recording exposes Lillian Holloway's industry corruption. The beauty queen's empire of lies. Everything you thought you knew about Holloway Enterprises. Corporate sponsors. Flee as Holloway brand. Crumbles overnight. Investors pulled out. Lawsuits were filed. Stock prices plummeted. And Lillian Holloway? She went from being untouchable to being public enemy number 1. Her empire was collapsing. And the daughters she had abandoned, They were the ones who had lit the match. Eleanor stared at the news, breathless. "We did it," she whispered. Amelia exhaled, watching as the world tore Lillian apart. "No," she murmured. She did it to herself. Lillian Holloway had spent 20 years building an empire, and in a single night, it burned. The leaked recording spread like wildfire. Investors abandoned her. Stock prices collapsed. Business partners cut ties. And the once unbreakable Lillian Holloway? She was ruined. Amelia and Eleanor sat in the Sinclair Mansion's library, watching the news unfold. Lillian's face flashed across the screen, not as a powerful mogul, but as a disgraced fraud. Eleanor exhaled sharply. "It's over." Amelia didn't blink. Not yet, because there was one more move left, and Amelia was going to make sure Lillian felt every second of it. 2 days later, Lillian Holloway's penthouse was silent. The housekeepers were gone. The assistants, the chauffeurs, all disappeared. The queen had been dethroned, and when the doorbell rang, Lillian already knew who it was. She moved slowly, her once flawless hands now trembling as she opened the door. Amelia and Eleanor stood there, dressed in black. They didn't speak. Neither did she. Finally, Lillian exhaled, stepping aside. "Come in." The apartment was a shell of its former self. The furniture remained, but the life, the power, it was gone. Lillian sat down on the couch, pouring herself a drink. Her hands were unsteady. She took a sip. "So," she said, voice hoarse. "This is what you wanted?" Amelia sat across from her. "No." Lillian let out a bitter laugh. "Then why are you here?" Eleanor, who had been silent, finally spoke. "To see if you have anything left to say." Lillian's fingers tightened around her glass. She stared at them for a long moment. Then finally, she sighed. "You think this makes you powerful," she murmured. "You think taking me down means you've won?" Amelia's expression didn't change. "I think we don't have to be afraid of you anymore." Lillian's jaw tightened. She looked down at her drink. "I spent my whole life building something that mattered, something bigger than myself." She took another sip. "And now, it's all gone." Eleanor swallowed hard. "You did that to yourself." Lillian's lips pressed together. For a moment, just a moment, the perfect mask cracked, and Amelia saw it. Regret. Not for abandoning them, not for hurting them, but for losing. That was all Lillian Holloway had ever cared about. Winning. Power. Control. And now she had nothing. Amelia stood. "Goodbye, Mother." Lillian didn't respond. She just sat there, staring into her empty glass. And when Amelia and Eleanor walked out that door, they knew they would never see her again, because Lillian Holloway was already gone. 1 week later, E&S Beauty held a press conference. Amelia stood before hundreds of reporters, Eleanor by her side. Cameras flashed. The world was watching. She took a deep breath. "For years," she said, voice steady, "the beauty industry has belonged to people like Lillian Holloway." She lifted her chin. "But that ends today." A pause. Then she smiled. "Because now, it belongs to us." The crowd erupted, and just like that, the Holloway name was gone. And the Holloway sisters? They had finally won. The sun was setting over New York City, casting a golden glow over the Sinclair Mansion. Inside, the air felt lighter. For the first time in 20 years, Amelia and Eleanor were free. No more fear, no more battles, no more Holloway name looming over them like a shadow. They had built something real, something that no one could take away. And now, it was time to decide what came next. Eleanor stood on the balcony watching the skyline. Amelia joined her, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. She handed one to Eleanor without a word. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then, Eleanor sighed. "So, what now?" Amelia smirked. "Now, we build something bigger." Eleanor rolled her eyes. "Of course." Amelia took a sip of champagne. "This isn't just about revenge anymore." She gestured toward the city. Lillian's empire is gone. But the industry, the way people see themselves, that's still broken. Eleanor studied her sister. You really think we can change that? Amelia's lips curled. I think we already have. 2 months later, ENS Beauty officially launched its most ambitious project yet, a foundation for women in business. A program that funded female entrepreneurs, a company that supported real, unfiltered beauty. No more impossible standards, no more exclusivity, just power. Amelia and Eleanor weren't just running a brand anymore, they were changing the rules. And the world? It was finally listening. One last letter arrived at the mansion. No return address, no signature, just a single handwritten note. I was wrong about you. You won. Lillian. Amelia stared at it for a long time. Then slowly she folded it and set it aside. She didn't need an apology. She didn't need closure, because the truth was, she had won a long time ago. And now, she was finally ready to move forward. The world had called them ugly, unwanted, forgotten. But they had rewritten their story. They had taken the pain, the rejection, the scars, and they had turned it into power, because beauty was never the goal. Strength was, and in the end, that had always been their greatest weapon. The end.